Hi everybody, Melissa Hubbard again, Melywood Media, here with two very special women that I have met through my activism for Save the Children. And I'm here with Rachel Earl, say hi, and with Tanya Stainbrook, who you all met a little while ago from my live on what war-torn Yugoslavia was like under a communist propaganda-driven civil war. Now, for this next live, we're talking about censorship and communism. And all of us ladies were members of the Respectable Women group on Facebook. Mm-hmm. We all were. And look at us, do we look not respectable? But we were all on the Respectable Women group that was banned. And these ladies have accounts that are right now effectively disabled. So you can still see their profiles on Facebook, but they cannot comment or do anything. So, by the way, did you guys see that flash come in?
I did.
From outside?
No, I thought I saw it. I thought it was the lights.
Did the light flicker? Okay.
Yeah, that was really
We're having like a little bit of issue with. No, I've seen actually a burst of light from outside come into the room before. Sometimes when I do lights, it's very strange. I don't know what the phenomenon is.
That's really
but
weird.
It'll like pop and come into the room.
Weird.
It's done that on 2 lives before.
That's kind of creepy. What's going on?
I don't know what it is. But anyway, so the reason I wanted to bring them on tonight is to talk about censorship on Facebook. We are going to talk about the techniques that communists use, which is Facebook, which is censorship. And also, for some reason, there's been a little bit of trouble with the Wi-Fi here in my home tonight, and it'll kind of go in and out. So when that happens, what we're going to do is going to stop talking for a second and let it reconnect, and then we'll keep talking. And sorry about this technical difficulty. It's been doing it all day today. So welcome, Tanya. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming to talk with us. I think that this is a very important conversation that we need to have, particularly this is the perfect live for me, because as I've discussed nonstop for the last 2 weeks, I am pulling the plug on Facebook. It is a bad system, and Melly doesn't plug into bad systems. I unplug from bad systems. And I put my energy and time in systems that are good and productive, and that would be systems that don't censor free speech. Yeah, so let's start with you, Rachel. When did you start the Respectable Women group?
So I started it, God, I want to say, like a month ago? It was about a month ago. It
didn't last long.
Yeah, it didn't last long. It was a couple weeks before the election, and I just remember seeing something about this nasty women group, and I looked at it, and I was like, oh, what is this about? I read the about section, saw it was, liberal women. I was like, okay, that's awesome. Maybe we need a space for conservative women. And now I'm realizing why there was nothing out there for conservative women, probably because they were all taken down. So then I made one called Respectable Women, and it had gained like 3,000 members in just a matter of days, so much that we were having trouble keeping up with all the requests. So I actually invited other admins and moderators, and before you knew it, in a week, right before the election, everything just was taken down just instantly. No warning, no, you violated standards, you need to clean up the page. No warning at all. I just was getting on my Facebook. It was in the afternoon, and then it was just gone, just like that.
Bam.
And
you're
had
deplatformed.
Had pretty much a meltdown when that happened, because I am only 24 and rely pretty heavily on social media.
She called Melly.
I called her.
I had to talk her off the cliff one day.
So yeah, it was pretty rough. And then
it's not the end of the world.
And shortly after, like 3 days later, my Instagram account was removed as well because it was linked. So.
Oh, your Instagram was yanked too.
Oh yeah, 3 days after.
So this all happened the week before the election. It happened to my group that me and Janae started. Janae Michelle called Save the Children Indiana, and it was a place for Indiana anti-child sex trafficking activists to interact, set up events, and do fundraisers for sex trafficked children. That group with 20,000 members was also deleted the week before the election. And we knew it was coming, which is, and also that's how I met these ladies, was through that group. And obviously it brought some really powerful women together to network, and we're going to continue to network.
It just goes to show, like, if you rely so heavily on social media or anything else for your own business, it can just be taken away from you so quickly.
It can, because of censorship. Now, we, all three of us, other than being interested in working as advocates to bring awareness to child sex trafficking, we have another thing in common. We're supporters of Donald J. Trump.
Proudly.
Proud supporters. We're not closeted supporters of Donald J. Trump. We do it in the open, and we're proud of it. And so that's the real reason why we're being
And for
censored.
me, I mean, I didn't really start coming out politically until this year. I mean, there's other people in my field, you know, that came out this year and were really brave to do so. And I was like, oh, you know, it encouraged me to do it. And I didn't think there was any problem with it until just one day, your entire account is taken down.
I totally agree. I never posted anything political on my social media, really ever. And even the last election, and it wasn't by choice, like that I was worried what people would think. I just never really had, but I was posting about the Save the Children stuff, which I personally don't believe Save the Children has anything to do with if you're Republican or Democrat. You either care about children or you don't. And so I was posting about Save the Children stuff, and that's when I started getting phone calls from people saying, you know, you really shouldn't post about Save the Children stuff because, you know, that's about Donald Trump. And I'm thinking, what do you mean? Like, I wouldn't care if, you know, the Kool-Aid man was trying to save children. I would promote the Kool-Aid man, right? So we are judged as a society based on how we treat our weakest member, which is the children, believe it or not. They're the weakest member. So let's get that out of the way.
Good point, Tanya.
So, you know, it doesn't matter what skin color, whatever, they're our weakest member. And so I had some coworkers complain that I was posting about saving the children because it was tied to Donald Trump. And at that point, that is when something clicked with me. And I said, you know what? He is the one fighting to save the children. And so if people are going to have a hard time with me posting about saving the kids because they don't feel like it's positive, then I'm just going to go ahead and have a problem with me posting about children. They already have put me in a category as it is. So that's when I decided to start showing my support for the president.
And about what time was it, this year?
It was this year, yeah. And so people just automatically assumed because I was fighting for the kids that I was a conservative, which they were right. But I do know people that aren't conservatives that care about the children. And so, but I think that what's really sad is that if you are fighting for the kids and you are deemed as a conservative, and I can't imagine turning a blind eye to the children because of the person behind it trying to help save the children. I'm sorry I didn't vote for Biden, but if he was fighting for the children, I would absolutely give him kudos for that.
Oh, we all would.
Yeah.
We would sing his praises if he was fighting for the children. But instead, what we saw is him fondling children inappropriately on video.
Yeah.
In, you know, our nation's capital, in public buildings in our nation's capital.
And
But we'll ignore that for the election.
Yeah,
right?
there's audio as well. So people, like some of those, you know, photo ops, and the audio alone has some really inappropriate things on there. And that's what's so crazy about all of this is, you know, it's not about being a Republican or a Democrat. It's about, you know, Donald Trump's not a perfect person. He's a man. He has locker room talk. I totally get it. But we're talking about children here. And when there's hard evidence, because people say all day long, well, Donald Trump did this, or he's a rapist, or whatever. Show me the evidence, okay? And then we'll talk. But no one ever has evidence of Donald Trump being racist. No one has evidence of him being a perpetrator. No one has evidence of that. Yet there's so much evidence about Joe Biden and also being a racist.
And we also
nobody wants
have
to pay attention to it.
Well, and his son's laptop.
Oh yeah.
There's video on there, and we've seen it.
Yeah.
And
all that's public info. It's not conspiracy. It's not whatever. It's all out there, and people just are so used to using Google. Stop using Google. It's not going to give you any information. I don't care what other platform you use. I'm not trying to tell you to use a Republican search engine. I don't even think that's a thing. But quit using Google, and you'll see the truth. And it's really upsetting that people, their hate for the president. Our president, he's still president, that our hate for the president, or their hate for the president, would supersede bothering to look at facts. And that's what just blows my mind. I think people purely voted on emotions instead of facts. And this is how wars happen. People basing their facts, their feelings as facts when it's not actually fact. So it's really kind of disappointing.
Well, and if I saw fact that Donald J. Trump was a pedophile, I'd be all over it. And I've looked. In fact, so has Julian Assange of WikiLeaks. He's asked for bad stuff on Donald Trump. He's asked for years on bad stuff. And he's on record saying, none's ever come to me. I've asked, we've looked. We have not uncovered any. Obviously, Donald Trump had a microscope up his life for how many years of that Mueller investigation?
Yeah, God.
I don't even remember how long it went on. But they spent millions of dollars. They put a microscope up every aspect of his life, and they found nothing.
And where did that money come from? Those millions of dollars. Who paid for it? Probably taxpayer money.
Yeah, the American people paid for it, for a witch hunt. And so, and you know what? It was in Donald J. Trump's purview to fire Mueller.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he did not. Instead, he submitted to the investigation. Now, the tables are turned, and now there's an investigation into voter fraud and the ties to that with the Democratic Party. And they also need to submit to an investigation, because just like Donald J. Trump, if they are innocent, we'll find nothing if Trump's innocent. I mean, if the Democrats are innocent.
I don't know why people are trying to not have this go on. Like, wouldn't you want to know that this was a free and fair election? I mean, it wouldn't matter who won. I would want to know if there was fraud. And so I don't know why people are throwing such a big stink about this. And as far as like digging into Donald Trump, I had people, when I first came out and said that, I was supporting Donald Trump, people were saying, how can you fight for saving the children when Donald Trump is a pedophile? And I looked at the old like stories and stuff that people were saying where he was a pedophile. And you have to ask yourself, if that was true, how come that didn't come out in 2016 when he was running? How come that didn't come out then? This is all...
Or the Mueller investigation.
Yeah, exactly.
They would have loved that. They would have loved that.
Oh, yeah. And then there was women who had said, he perpetrated on them. These women, their families finally came forward and admitted that it was all for money. They retracted their stories. And so people are like, oh, well, he just bought them off. Are you kidding me? They could have had so much more money. Who would want to put their kid through? And it's evil. People do. They use celebrities like that to try to get money. Like, he's not the first rich guy to have someone make false claims to try to get money out of him. I mean, this is not a new tactic.
I'm pretty sure every billionaire, particularly in the public light, has Stormy Daniels come and extort money. And she's even admitted.
Well, and what's really bad
it's
too,
all made up.
The girl that came out, Biden's old assistant.
Yes.
What was her name again?
Yeah,
Biden's old assistant. Yeah, she came out.
He didn't even know her.
She came out with a very detailed description of what he had done to her, and nobody even talked about it. And that's why people were making fun of the Me Too movement, because they were saying, "Oh, Me Too," unless it's Biden. Because why are we not taking that allegation seriously?
Oh, absolutely.
And she's risking her everything, putting her stuff out there.
Well,
Or
we
even all
know that people will be silenced, but I want to take us back though to the topic of the show, which is censorship and communism. So the way that these unauthorized authoritarians push their agenda is they shut down speech that is not flowing with their agenda, because they cannot win in the, in the discourse of ideas, because their ideas aren't good. So what they do, the opposing ideas, and that's what Facebook is doing now to conservatives, but not nasty women.
Right.
Nasty women get to run unleashed.
Yeah.
So
And they'll put your information out there, and they'll
yeah.
harass you.
So we're going to talk about that right now. What are the nasty women have located these girls? And they have been harassing them professionally. So tell your stories. Let's start with Rachel. Like, how did you encounter the nasty women?
So the nasty women, goodness, I don't know if I should put it all out there. It was actually a neighbor of mine. I posted in our neighborhood page, and she had taken that. She went to my profile and she was like, "Oh, why did they censor her?" She saw what I posted on my new Facebook page, that I created a group, and coincidentally, right before the election, my entire account was disabled along with all the women and the admins in that group. And then
So they disabled your personal page,
Personal.
and they disabled the personal
Professional.
pages of your admins.
of the other admins, they just took us all down.
So
Same
you were
time.
all taken down, plus the group was taken down.
Yep, the whole thing. The
Okay.
whole thing.
That's probably why because I was an admin on there.
You were-
That would make sense.
I
why
had
they
just
added.
made you. I had just made you
yeah,
one. Yeah.
okay.
So now I feel bad because everybody else's Facebook got taken down for something I had created, and I don't know. It just But anyway, so it was a neighbor of mine, and I had actually infiltrated their groups like they did ours. And she had posted in there she had screenshotted my profile, which had my business information on it, and put it in that group. And I don't know what their plan is. So far I'm okay, but if they try to take it a step further, we'll have to go down that road.
Well, that's a little frightening, because with Tanya, they took it a step further.
So
What happened, Tanya?
I was on a Facebook page called Trump Train Parade, and it was basically a Facebook group where we would get together in caravans and drive around, supporting our president. And honest to goodness, the whole time I was on that page, I've never seen anybody post something nasty, even about the opposing party. It was all about events and, hey, when if we get together. I mean, I could swear on it. I've never seen anything, it was only focusing on the positive, which is very different than we see with the other side, where we've got to tear the other side down. We were just focusing on the positivity.
It's a big
And-
cheerleading thing for
Exactly,
Trump. Like,
yeah.
you're posting pictures of your vehicle all decked out with the American flags,
Yeah.
and that's what it's about.
That's all it was. And I was on that page, and people were saying that, hey, we have to move the location of our meetup spot for the parade because this group called Nasty Women found out they've infiltrated the Trump page and the train page and found out where we're meeting, and they called the theater and said that, hey, if they let conservatives park here, they're going to put bad reviews online. And they started basically trying to keep us from meeting. And these businesses would cave. Here's COVID. They're already struggling for money. And these businesses would cave whenever these people would call and make false claims, and basically saying that if they allow us to park in their parking lot, that they were supporting the KKK, because that's, what is that, we support the KKK. I personally, honest to goodness, I would not associate with a racist person. I hate racism. I think it's ignorance. I don't know a single conservative that is a racist. If I do, they've never made it known to me, and I wouldn't associate with them. Not saying that there aren't. There are racist Democrats. There are racist conservatives. I personally don't associate with any of them. But anyway, so this page kept getting these members pretending to be part of the Trump train parade. And that's what blew my mind, is some people spending their time pretending to be somebody else. Instead of just focusing, like, if you like Joe Biden, great, start a Joe Biden parade, but don't come onto a Trump page and try to mess up our parade and rain on our parade. So it was just all this negativity. And so people from the group started posting screenshots from the nasty women's comments, and there was a lot of plots that they were planning to basically ruin these Trump parades. And so some of the comments were really bad, even wanting to...
full of profanity, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. But there were some where they were going to order like Confederate and Nazi flags to put on their vehicles and show up at the Trump parade pretending to be...
You have too much time on your hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's what
they're
you're
gonna
doing in your free
they're gonna
time.
be agent provocateurs and crash the Trump parades with, you know, flags of, you know, Dixie South and racism. And that's what they do. You know, the first time I saw an agent provocateur was in 2009 on April 15th at the very first National Tax Day Tea Party. Now, as you guys know, I birthed the Tea Party back in 2007. And so I'd been, you know, I mean, I conceived it. It was born in my living room. But by the time 2009 came around, it had gone national. And there was there were tea parties happening all on the same day on tax day of 2009. So I go to that big rally with some of my original Tea Party friends. And by the way, I was still very politically naive back then. I really was, to be honest. And but anyways, one of my friends saw this guy at that rally with a big racist Obama sign. And we were like, ew, what's that? And so we ran over to that guy and we said, you cannot have that sign here. And he was like, yes, I can. Free speech, blah, blah, blah. And we were like, no, it's unacceptable. Mm-hmm. So we actually chased that man to his car, which had Illinois license plates. So he was sent, no doubt, from Democrats from Illinois to Indianapolis to the very first National Tea Party to pose as a racist, so that would be picked up by the media to show us as racist. And I was pushed out of the Tea Party movement early. Well, when it was being hijacked, they wouldn't let me run Indianapolis. These media operatives in Chicago that hijacked this thing, they wouldn't let me be, you know, a leader, even though I had done the ground game to get it started, and we had great successes under our belt, including many election upsets, not just the mayor, but we overturned the city council too, with no money. And anyway, so they couldn't let that happen, because guess what? Melly was formerly a dominatrix. Yeah, and prior to that, in the 1990s, my roommate was black and gay, and back in that time, it was sort of like edgy to have a black gay roommate, you know, like this was going back to maybe 94, and they were never ever going to be able to pin that racist label on me.
That's what they do. They definitely love to just throw out that word and say that. And you know, I wasn't in the Nasty Women's group, but I had people just send me screenshots of what was going on, and I was seeing it in the Trump train parade, and I just couldn't believe it. And so all I did was simply make a post on my Facebook saying, you know, this is wrong for people to try to stop a parade, and we're just simply trying to do this, and like, these evil plots are not okay. I would never go out of my way to do that. Mm-hmm. And somebody that was a former client of mine that was on my Facebook page took my profile and what I posted, put it on the Nasty Women's page, and basically they all decided to call my work, to turn me in on Facebook. You can just go to someone's Facebook page now and turn them in for hate speech, or that they're racist or whatever, even with no proof. And so Facebook can just, you know, if they get enough complaints, they'll shut you down. Yet if I were to turn in someone for actual child pornography, which I've done that many times, it would stay up. And
That's
so
true.
I would, Friday nights, I could do it right now in 5 minutes. I could probably find 20 pages of child pornography on Facebook right now. And if I try to turn it into Facebook, nothing happens.
Twitter too.
Yep, and Twitter.
Twitter too.
Yet, you know, I'm getting censored for exposing an evil plot that people are doing to censor free speech and freedom of expression of support for the president. And it's just sickening that it then affected my job, and people saying that they didn't want to associate with me as an employee. because, you know, conservatives, it's almost like a taboo thing now, and you just can't be a conservative. And they don't know my background. They don't know where I came from. They don't know the diversity that I'm around. I'm far from a racist. I don't associate with racists. And quite frankly, I think conservatives are the ones that really care about these civil rights, and they really care about equality. Yet the media's portrayed us to be somebody that we're not. And so Facebook is in on it. And, you know, I've seen some of the comments, like with Rachel being banned as well, people saying, well, there's something they must have done. There's something else they must have done to be censored. There really isn't. It's literally a matter of just someone can make a false accusation now, which Yelp, I don't know if you guys have seen that. So now on Yelp, like, let's just say that you go in and to eat somewhere and you have a bad waitress or you get bad service, you can now just say that the waitress was racist. You can just say that now, even if you were a bad customer, even if you were a rude customer and someone just had a bad day. And, you know, think about how many times we've had poor customer service. It's not always for some reason of identity. Sometimes people just are crappy servers. And so, but this is the society that we live in, and being censored and targeted just because you're a certain, you know, ideology. And it's really sad because, you know, the Save the Children stuff too, we were pushing, we were moving, we were doing all types of stuff, and I can't even be on Facebook. And then I created a separate account, and they tracked my IP address. They shut that one down even without posting controversy. And Facebook even offered me money to get off of Facebook.
I want to get into this.
Election.
I've never heard of anybody being, I would have taken the money. I'd be like, gladly, because I was going to leave anyway. But they offered you money?
Yeah,
How much money?
Yeah, so it was $10 a day.
Yeah.
And they did. I don't know if you guys got,
I got
some
notification.
Yeah.
You did $10 a day to not be on Facebook?
No, I didn't do it, but I got
They said it was just for a survey or something, and it was just till election. So basically, they were trying to get conservatives off the platform. When none of us took the bait, that's when they really did the censorship. So they started with shadow banning.
Why did they offer $1,000 a day?
Right? I know. Yeah. Honestly, they could have offered me $1,000 a day, and we were fighting so hard for the kids, I wouldn't have taken it. And they knew that we were really, really pushing. And so what they did when we didn't take the bait is they just censored us. And for people who don't believe that is really happening, you need to wake up. I mean, what conservative friends of yours are you seeing on their news feeds? They're just not.
So the answer, I think, and you know, I've always been a leader. Well, maybe not always, but for the last 15 years I have, really, since I founded the Tea Party movement, I've been a leader. And leaders take a hard path. I do have a pretty good foundation in natural law, which is the science of morality. And natural law means you don't violate another's sovereignty without their consent. I don't butt into your life as an unauthorized authoritarian, telling you what to do, how to live, what you should be doing. Just like you do what you want, and we, you know, participate in each other's lives by consent, as long as it feels good, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I go out of my way to not violate the boundaries of others. Right.
Yeah.
And if I do inadvertently, I'm like all over the apologies.
And social media too. Like, I have friends that are very diverse, and I have some really good friends that are progressive liberals. They have been posting stuff about Donald Trump for 4 years and how much they can't stand him. Do you know that I have never ever commented on one of their posts? Never. These are friends of mine. I just scroll past, right? It's really the moment someone knew, even a close friend of mine knew that I was a conservative, they were commenting on every single one of my posts, basically making me feel guilty that how can you, being from another country, support the president? You know, this and this and this, and you should be all for open borders, and you should be for this, and you should be for that, and basically telling me how I should feel. Yeah, I've never commented on one of their posts. It's so easy to just scroll past.
Instead of asking you, hey, you're from another country. Why do you feel that way?
Thank you.
Please share your knowledge. What have you learned being from another country?
Exactly. But no, instead, you know, us as spoiled, you know, Americans, we really are, you know, want to tell people that have left war-torn countries how they should feel. Just like people are now telling all black people how they should feel. Now they're telling how all gay people should feel. Telling everybody that is different how they should feel, and everybody else is right except for this one core group of people, they're wrong. And I mean,
the core group of people who have the control of the tech censors.
Yep.
Well, on the big platforms.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which leads us to being leaders by unplugging from the platforms that censor. Our participation is what enables it.
Yep.
And yeah, Facebook's built a tech platform that works really well with a lot of neat features. You can message your friends, you can video call, you can like look in on your friends' lives, which is fun. I mean, you know, by the time you get to be our age, well, maybe not yours, but my age, you've met lots of people, and it's really fun to look in on their families and their kids' pictures. I love it. I absolutely love it. It gives me joy when I see beautiful things going on in the family or in my friends' families. But if this platform is going to censor like they are, and basically this is a communist technique. They do it in China, and they tell you what, you know, basically we're supposed to be against the American Constitution. I mean, bottom line, if you're pro-American Constitution, that is not welcome on Facebook.
No, it's not. And it's really scary what they're doing, because it starts off with things like this, and then it becomes where you have a society who doesn't really know what's going on. This is what happened where we were at too. No one really knew what was going on because the media pushed
In Yugoslavia.
They
in
pushed one
Yugoslavia,
narrative.
where she grew up.
It's just crazy. And so I think with Facebook, like, you know, they make money off of advertisers. If they don't have people to advertise to, then, you know, they're going to be hurting. So we kind of need to really only support people that believe in freedom of speech. And so these other platforms are going to be hard to learn how to use at first. But trust me, if we all start moving over, they're going to then be able to have the backing to be able to build on their platforms and give the cool tools and features that we have. I'm personally on MeWe. That's kind of more set up like Facebook, but it's just growing pains. Think about Facebook when it first started. I mean, it was not all cool like it is now, but if we support the people that believe in free speech, like the founder of MeWe, then, or Parler or whoever, then we're going to help grow their platforms, and then Facebook will go broke, and you know,
it will.
They're not going to be able to survive without us.
They're going to be the new MySpace, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yay.
Yay. And people think, you know, they're like, good, conservatives should leave, and it's like, you
That's
know,
literally the definition of division.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah, they're pushing the divide.
That's the divide. That's
Yes,
what I'm talking about.
great point. They are the ones pushing it. We want to get along with everyone and live and let live.
Yeah.
They want us divided. And so, well, and you know, we have the option to help build the new paradigm. That's what I call it. There's the old world order that's coming down, and the new paradigm, which is being built. And I'm on Parler as Melywood Media. I set up the account in June. You know, I made a couple posts, played around with it or whatever. It was a little awkward using it. So I went back to my old shoe Facebook, which was easy, that I knew. But like last week, well, no, it was before the election, I started really making the decision that I've got to unplug from Facebook. And so I forced myself to go into Parler and start making posts. And you know what? It really only took me like 2 or 3 hours of messing around with it till I'm real comfortable with it now. I have a verified account, which means that I can drop links to things and comments. I can leave pictures and comments because I'm a verified account. And all that meant was that I sent them a copy of my driver's license and a selfie so that they knew I was a real authentic person. And I like the idea of interacting with people that are authentic, real people.
Right. Yeah.
I like that. So we've all made the decision to help build the new paradigm. I hope many of you will follow my lead and disconnect from Facebook and shut it down. Take all that energy that you're using take that Facebook energy and put it somewhere else. You never know what door is going to open. And I want to talk about the Trump economic demographic. I think the Trump demographic is the most powerful economic demographic in the country.
Yeah.
I really do. And that is from my experience of being an account executive for, let's just say, more than a decade. and you know, working as an account manager and helping as a small business consultant, working with businesses and their advertising campaigns, etc. like they're all conservatives, and those guys, that's where the money is. And if we can get the powerful demographic to move over to these other platforms, and they are doing it in mass now on Parler. I mean,
it crashed the whole app. I couldn't get on the app for like 2 days because so many people had moved over. I was like,
I think they're working. I think at Parler they're working 24/7 right now. And I have checked in the App Store. The Parler app, it's leading pretty much
number 1 or 2 in MeWe. They're like the top 2.
Yeah,
they're above Instagram.
They're
Facebook
above. Yeah, they're above Facebook, Instagram,
TikTok is up there.
They're above
Snapchat.
Yeah, like a
All
lot
the
of
big
them.
ones.
Instagram, it just shocked me that Parler was like being downloaded more than all these other apps. And I just read yesterday on Parler that they are in development now of Parler groups, which will be a game changer. Because then here in Indiana, we can get together and have another Save the Children Indiana group. And Tanya has she has a Save the Children group on MeWe. It's called
The Worst Traffic is Sex Traffic.
The Worst Traffic is Sex Traffic. Yeah.
I think right now too with Facebook, like months ago when I thought about getting off of Facebook, I kept going, I don't want to leave yet. They're going to have to kick me off. I remember saying that. They're going to have to kick me off because I still want to be able to share the truth, and hopefully I can reach somebody, right, that's on here. But the reality is, have you tried talking sense into somebody about any of what's going on? They don't care. They're not going to listen. It's not going to be the civil conversation. They already have their minds made up. And so at this point, we are just fighting a losing battle with spending time on negative energies. And so I think with Facebook, for me, it's more of, I only want to, it talks about this in the Bible too. Like, you need to be with equally yoked people, because really what we've tried to do is be all encompassing, and it's dragged us down. And so I feel like getting off of Facebook is really trying to be with like-minded people. And I'm not trying to be exclusive, but the reality is no one is listening. No one's listening when I'm trying to tell them the truth. They have their minds made up, and it just turns into a battlefield. I've watched it happen on Facebook. People arguing, wasting time. So why do that? Like, let's get away from the negative, focus on the positive. So hang like-minded people, and hopefully others will ask questions. But I can tell you, I don't have a single conservative friend that, like, even if someone that was a liberal posted on something or commented on something I posted, not one of my friends made a nasty comment back. Not one. But if I were to post something on one of my Democratic friends' pages, they would fire right at me. There's a big difference, I feel like, with the way my conservative friends were acting versus my liberal friends.
Well, we're actually a lot more tolerant, and kind of to our demise.
Yeah.
Because the conservatives are kind of like, they're more turn the other cheek. I'll just leave this situation rather than fight back.
Look what's happening right now. I mean, we should be outraged, right?
Oh, yeah.
We should be outraged.
Burning down cities, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, honestly, like, we believe in the truth, and that the truth will come out. And you know what? If the truth comes out and Joe Biden won, fine.
We'll accept it.
We're
not going to burn down. We're not going to burn down the city because of it. What we're going to do is we're going to group on Parler, and we're going to reorganize to block and tackle in the Senate. Is what we're going to do. But I don't think it's going to come down to that. Melywood Media has an official forecast out there that Trump will be awarded the election.
He will.
And
but then what will come of that from the other side?
Oh, well, and this, I want everyone to take note of what's happening right now versus when Donald Trump is declared president again. Then watch what happens. That right there should tell you who's behind all of this violence. And they don't care how many people have to die, innocent children in the crossfire. You know how many children have died through all this, or innocent people? Look at Chris Beatty here in Indianapolis.
Chris Beatty, yes.
I mean, seriously, this is just crazy, like, how many more people have to die because we don't get our way? This is sickening. You know?
Because they didn't get their way. Or, at the Trump march in DC over the weekend, it seemed like 500,000 people or something. I don't know. It was like the most people I'd ever been around in one place. And, everything was peaceful. By the way, I didn't even notice how many different races of people there were until I played back my videos. and there was this one dance party just sprung up spontaneously. And I looked at that video. There are like all these black people in there. I never even noticed that they were black until I looked at the video, and I'm like, this is like a big diverse crowd. But we were just all there for Trump, so you don't pay attention to that. It's just like your new friend. People
When
like
everybody's red, white, and blue, you can't tell. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
I love that. Everybody was red, white, and blue, and you don't see anything except the red, white, and blue. And that is exactly how it was. But when the sun went down, the cockroaches came out.
Oh, jeez.
Sorry, yeah, but that's what happened. The cockroaches came out, and we had left the scene by then, and we went back to the townhouse we were in. But they had, they were stalking the straggling. If you had a MAGA hat on and you were a straggler, these violent supremacist, from the violent supremacist group, I'm not even going to say their name, they were attacking people from behind, including moms and kids.
Yeah, it was awful. That one video I saw, the little girl got pushed over and the mom with a stroller. They were a biracial family.
Biracial family.
Yeah.
The kid is screaming her head off, or his head off. I couldn't tell like if it was a boy or girl child, but the child is just screaming their head off. Like absolutely terrified.
So I don't understand because what's the agenda? Like I thought that it was
to shut down Trump's speech.
It's crazy. But now you're attacking kids and biracial families. So what is your actual motive? Is it just violence?
It's
because
not
I thought you were the party
It's not
of peace.
about unity. I'm convinced it's not about unity. It's about reparation. It's about paying the price for something ancestors did. Yes, I'm a white woman. I know I will never have to go through certain things based on my skin color that maybe a friend of mine that's black will have to. But do you not realize, like, immigrants, like, my family didn't live here during slavery. So you can't put everyone in a category or keep punishing people for our ancestors' mistakes. We're getting better, but now we're going backwards again.
I like to say that my ancestors, in fact, my grandmother, whose maiden name I took as my last name, Hubbard, well, Grandma Lola, she was having nothing to do with that racism. And as a young girl, I watched her form this interracial friendship, which were these classy ladies of all races that would go and put their gloves on and go have lunch together and talk. It was called the Interracial Friendship Group. And, there was this one time when Grandma, this is going back to the early 70s, well, Grandma went to buy a burial plot and the cemetery salesman said, Grandma's ready to sign and pay the money and sign on the dotted line. And the cemetery salesman said, don't you worry. We don't allow any coloreds to be buried here. That happened. And my grandma got up and she put her hat and gloves on and she said, if your cemetery isn't good enough for them, it's not good enough for me either. And she walked out and she went down the road and bought a plot at the other cemetery. And there was this other instance, and this is probably going back to the 50s, before I was born. And my grandma and her family were on this road trip down in like the deep south, maybe Arkansas or Alabama or something. And they pulled over to a roadside diner to eat, and they were just about to eat dinner when a black family walked in to eat dinner. And they were told they couldn't eat there. This is going back into the 50s. And my grandmother got up, went to the car, and said, I'm not going to eat here. And Grandma went without her meal.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was how she made a stand. And that's what I'm, I'm an abolitionist. I am against all slavery, period. I'm against financial slavery, race slavery, child sex trafficking slavery. I'm like anti-slavery across the board. So, I don't deserve to be put in that group either.
Yeah, and and we are in a different situation because maybe we aren't judged based on our skin color and all that kind of stuff, but racism, it is taught. And I will tell you, I have never, ever witnessed racism firsthand, to be honest, till I moved to Indiana. So I can understand why some people would say, oh, here's this girl and she lives in Indiana and she doesn't get it and whatever. They don't know my background or whatever. But I had met some people that were older generations that said certain things that I had never heard ever come out of somebody's mouth before. And I was devastated. I remember crying to my ex-husband and going, we cannot raise our kid here, because that was the first week I moved here. I've never heard it again since then. So this was just this one isolated incident.
Good.
Yeah, isolated incident. But it hurt my heart going, I can't believe someone still thinks like this. But this was what they were taught. So, but I'm not going to believe, I know my friends and the people I associate with, they're not racist. They absolutely despise racism. And so we have to quit.
And certainly the Trump people aren't, oh no.
Yeah,
and they're not
absolutely.
homophobic or anything. You can see it at rallies in the way they embrace all the different diversity.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just one big happy. And back to what you said, Tanya, it's red, white, and blue. That's our color.
Right. Yeah.
And that's how we all work. So, we're kind of like, we need to wrap up here because we've got about at least 45 minutes. Yeah, we're there. But, my plan is to completely unplug from Facebook tonight at midnight, and I'm just going to go cold turkey. And I do have a Facebook addiction. You guys know I do. But I'm going to put that energy into building the new paradigm on platforms that have promised not to censor us. And if those platforms censor, I will do this again, because I may have to get really good at moving.
Yeah. We have to support those that believe in freedom of speech. And I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative. We need to support free speech for everybody, regardless if you support Biden, if you support Trump. I'm all about free speech. That's how we're different. That's what makes us cool. And so if my friends were being censored and they were Biden supporters, I would not support that platform either.
Right.
So because I think it's important that we all get our voices heard. So I hope that anyone that's a Democrat feels the same way, and that you care more about your friends than your political affiliation.
And that's true equality across the board, freedom of speech for all. Not
Freedom
just
of
one
speech.
side.
So I
for
encourage
all.
those of you that are Democrats, get off Facebook too. Quit supporting people that don't support the Constitution.
Because censorship...
It'll happen to you too. Just watch.
Censorship is what the Nazis did in Nazi Germany. In fact, that little Sophie Scholl, who was a college student who was part of the resistance against the Nazis, who was dispersing literature to tell the truth about what the Nazis were doing, she was executed by a beheading for it. So not only was her speech censored, she was killed for it. And by enabling these platforms, by participating in them, we're walking down that road with them, and we have to say no.
They're already banning books. Have you guys seen certain, like the Anne Frank, Diary of Anne Frank? I mean,
Is that banned?
Oh my goodness! You can go to Barnes and Noble and look at the banned book list, and once every couple months they might have them out there. But even the Shel Silverstein books, certain books and things that talk about real history, those are already going away. I'm collecting old books from Goodwill right now, because if you don't think that they're gonna stop at tech, they're going to get rid of anything that had the truth, our history. They want to erase our history. So buy old books right now, because they're going to go bye-bye. They said they threw away books because of COVID at the library in schools.
Did you know Trump Jr., his book Triggered, it was a bestseller, and Barnes & Noble wouldn't put it on the bestseller rack?
Wow.
When he came out with Triggered, it was a bestseller.
But
you wouldn't know that.
But Trump's niece, her book Bashing Trump, that was not even a great seller, but they made sure to promote that.
To promote it.
That was in the front window, probably.
Yeah, they're going to get rid of books, paper. I mean, they're going to make sure that we don't have history, because then we can't learn from it, right? So they want to make sure we don't remember, so that we make the same mistakes again.
Well, they've already erased the true founding story of the Tea Party movement for the most part. I mean, it's scrubbed from the web, that you guys, and that's why I run into people who, even conservatives, who do not believe I'm telling the truth, because they see the search results that Google wants you to see. And I have all the documentation. I mean, you can still go to the library and pull up the old news articles and things and find it there, but who's going to do that?
Yeah.
And I'm glad you said that, because we're in a lazy society. So people, they watch Facebook, they watch the news, they don't bother to do their own research because they're too lazy. And this is why this is all happening.
Yeah.
You probably so.
Yeah.
But this is the time, I keep saying this over and over, you guys both heard me say it's wheat from chaff time, and the process is violent for the stalk of wheat. And you got to decide, what side of the fence are you on? Are you pro-censorship or are you anti-censorship? If you are anti-censorship, you need to unplug from Facebook, build a plan, and get off of it. You're welcome to join me tonight at midnight when I unplug mine, and I'm going to be full-time on Parler, on MeWe, and I also just set up a Rumble account, which I don't even know how to use yet, but that's going to be my new video platform.
Yeah.
For Melywood Media.
Yeah, we can't support companies anymore that are okay with censorship, and also companies that are okay with child exploitation.
Right.
And Facebook is absolutely okay with child exploitation.
They are.
I mean, I've done it. I've spent Friday nights just looking up pages.
Oh, she
and
has. She
I'll
sends
call
it to
Center
me.
for Missing Children.
Yeah.
And they're allowed to be up. I mean, they're selling children on Facebook. It is so easy to find, and don't think your kid can be a victim even just by letting them have a Facebook account. So
It's true. And there are actual slave markets
Yeah.
where human beings are sold. I found out about this long before I was on Facebook. It was through a dominatrix friend of mine who, I didn't understand her whole story when she was telling it to me, because things were kind of cloaked, and it was always at night when we were talking, and I knew her in person. And I don't know why she shared these things with me, but she, in very low whispered tones, she told me that she was brought up in this BDSM family. Well, I figured it out years later that it was a Satanist family, and she wasn't on board with it all, but she'd seen some really terrible things. She told me a story once. There was a little girl that was being kept in a cage in a closet, and that she had freed that child. And she said, they would have killed me. They would have killed me, Melissa, if they found out. They would have killed me. And then she told me, and this is back in the day when we were doing fetish events downtown, and we had this like slave auction where you buy someone and they have to follow you around the rest of the night and do what you say. And then we would give the money to a charity. So it was like this little slave auction, kind of a fun, campy thing to do. And I thought that's what a slave auction was. And she attended those events too sometimes. And she said, there are real slave auctions in Chicago. And I was like, no way. Like, that's not true. She's, and she didn't say any more about it. She told me that one time and just dropped it.
Wow.
But I never forgot it. I never forgot it. She said the slave markets are real, and there's one in Chicago.
Yeah. They make more money. Sex slavery makes more money than big pharma. Think about that. $150.2 billion a year.
And is that just America or worldwide?
Worldwide.
Okay. There you have it. So we all get to pick which side of history we're going to be on. Are we going to be pro-sovereignty, pro-freedom, pro-America, pro-First Amendment, pro-Second Amendment, pro-free speech?
Yeah.
Or are we going to participate in these evil systems?
Not at all.
No.
This is a time to get together with like-minded people. Keep conversations going for people that really want to listen. Pray for our country right now with what's about to go on, and just pray for people's eyes to be opened and for the hate to leave, because that's what this is all about, is hate, and we have to have more love than hate right now.
We do.
Absolutely.
And your besties on Facebook, they may not even be people you've ever met in real life. If they mean something to you, start reaching out to your friends and get them in your phone contacts. Get all the people you can in your phone contacts, and, build a plan to leave, or just leave cold turkey, but get off of here, because it's not a good place.
Yeah.
But businesses too, if you have a business and you're self-sustaining, like, you really need to get face-to-face with people and stop relying on social media like I was doing, because I'm starting my business. So
Right.
Yeah.
so important to get people's
We're
numbers.
so
and
connected
contact.
yet so unconnected.
Exactly.
Like, it'd be
Exactly.
nice to kind of go back to being connected with people and
Yeah.
actually texting and saying, how's it going? Or picking
Yeah.
up the phone. Like, this might be a really good thing, actually. Like, kind of a blessing in disguise.
Silver lining.
Well, and now that I know you face to
I know.
face, thank you for inviting me to the Respectable Women
Yeah.
group. I didn't tell you, but it made me feel so good, because I'm like, oh, she thinks I'm respectable. It did.
Building a whole other group of women. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
and
empowering.
so, and now because we've known and I met you, I would not hesitate 2 seconds to send a friend of mine that was looking for a home in Fishers.
Appreciate it.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
she's a realtor, and you know, I would never hesitate.
And I'll close
a minute.
it. No.
Yeah, and she's
Yeah,
a
we'll do
closer.
a thing, yeah.
Yeah. So with that, thanks all for watching. This is going to be a little bit of emotional night for me because I am saying goodbye to everyone. This is my last live on Facebook. I'm going to miss you all. It was a fun ride, but I'm out of here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Loved it. This is one of my favorite lives, and this live will be kept for perpetuity. How do you say that word? But anyway, I'm going to keep the live. I'm going to move it over to YouTube. So the live will be up on YouTube a little bit later tonight, where you can find it there on the Melywood Media channel. So
Awesome.
good night. Bye.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you over on the other platforms.